Hello nerds and nerdettes, welcome back to the channel where once again we have another monthly haul video for you guys. The video I love filming the most, I have the most fun with, and it seems like you guys enjoy the most. But before we get into the overall haul, I do want to remind you guys that if you're looking for any of these books or any other books, head on over to the channel sponsor, organicpricebooks.com. Use that discount code STAYNERDY for $2 off your order. It will help support the amazing company that is Organic Price Books, but of course will also help out the channel, which a lot of you have been doing, which I am extremely thankful for. I cannot believe how much you guys are helping out. I truly appreciate that. But without further ado, let's jump into the haul itself. And as always, as a quick reminder, we do typically start with manga, then we go into indies, and then we go into the big two. So depending on what you're kind of looking for during this haul, you can skip around using the chapters and timestamps. But other than that, let's jump into the haul, starting with manga. First up, we have Soul Eater, volumes 8 and 9. Such great editions. These are by Square Enix. Absolutely beautiful editions. Very similar to the Fullmetal Alchemist Fullmetal editions. They are hardcover, thin, beautiful spines. My phone will not stop dropping. But great series also. I've only really watched the anime and not read the manga itself. I'm now collecting the manga, and I'll probably binge read it at some point. The anime, I've heard, stays fairly strict to the manga's content, so it's not like you're missing too much pertaining to anime versus manga, but still beautiful editions and super excited to get into the library. Next up, we have Parasite in the full color hardcover editions. Super excited that this is getting a full color and hardcover edition, only previously being collected in those paperback volumes. But on top of that, we are getting connecting spines. As you can tell, that will spell out the word Parasite. So this will look absolutely beautiful on the shelf. Very mature manga revolving around alien creatures that take over organic beings, trying to be as vague as possible. But it is somewhat dated as far as its art style and its storytelling. It is a more aged manga, like a fine wine, but still a blast. Very gory, very bloody, has action, a decent amount of mystery, and some body horror. So you're looking at a lot of boxes being ticked for the series in general, and I'm very excited to get this volume in and get future volumes in so I can have the word Parasite spelled out. Oddly enough, that's my most excited aspect of these books, but still a great series. Next up, we have Fist of the North Star, Volume 7, continuing my collection of these volumes in these hardcovers. As I've said before, very similar to the Fullmetal Alchemist Fullmetal editions. For whatever reason, this area on the spine and this area on the spine always come horribly damaged, even sometimes being ripped for whatever reason, anytime I order it. So I typically kind of get these in the wild in general, just because I can inspect the volume. I'm probably going to start getting them online again, just because it's so hard just to keep tracking them down, and I'm just going to take the chance again, see if maybe they resolve that issue, and then hopefully complete this series. I believe we're looking at 10 volumes to complete the series. This is volume 7, so we're getting very close to finishing it in these editions, which is, of course, super exciting. Next up, we have Blade of the Immortal in the Dark Horse Deluxe Edition, volume 8. It seems like I have one of these in every single haul. But such a great series. These most recent volumes that have came out are, I mean, some of the best manga I've read, some of the best writing and stories that I've read. Literally on the edge of your seat the whole time you're reading. Such a blast. Samurai manga following a character named Manji, who is a samurai that is unable to die, hence the name Blade of the Immortal. And the young girl that he is pretty much protecting, which goes by the name of Rin. Both amazing characters. The supporting cast through this entire manga are absolutely amazing. Some of them being more of my favorite characters than even the main characters. So definitely check this out. I recommend this for a lot of my comic readers also, just because he's a undying samurai, has a lot of similar vibes to kind of Wolverine, especially the story that was kind of told in the movie Logan, which was obviously a younger, more experienced Logan protecting this young girl. Very similar vibes explored here. Such a blast. Amazing art. Best thing I can compare the art to it, which I always do, is like Jim Lee. It's very comic booky, very cross-hatching filled. Huge blast, lots of motion, beautiful deaths, beautiful fights. Can't recommend it enough. And it is in my top 5 favorite mangas that I've ever read, so it's definitely worth checking out. Next, but not least for manga, we have a bittersweet title, which of course is Berserk Volume 13 in the Dark Horse Deluxe Editions, which is the last time we will have the entire contents of this book by Kentaro Miura. Bittersweet in the aspect that we are continuing to get these beautiful books, and those of us that want to continue the story in this format can do so. But obviously Kentaro Miura passing, and this is the last time that we're going to see his pencils and his storytelling in this format. Still a great volume though. I do have a series where I'm reviewing each of the volumes of Berserk because it is my favorite thing that I've ever read. I can leave that link up above so you guys can check out that, but can't say enough about Berserk. It is definitely that good, and I'm not worried about that being a hot take because probably most people that have read it would definitely agree with that statement. Definitely check it out, and rest in peace, Kentaro Miura. Thank you for all your hard work. But we'll head on over to indie titles and take a look at our first release, or our first pickup. First of our indie titles is going to be Royal City. Let me move the lighting a little bit because of this cover. By Jeff Lemire. Something that I actually have not read. I am a huge fan of Jeff Lemire, but I haven't read Royal City, which I feel like is a shame when some people hear it, but I'm super excited to find this deluxe edition. I typically try to travel, or when I'm traveling, I typically try, man, that was all messed up, to hit local comic book stores and pick up some comic books or a volume or something like that, just trying to give back to the stores that really made this hobby boom, and supporting small businesses as well. And I was recently traveling, found this in the local comic book shop, and of course picked it up. Super exciting to actually get it, and now I can experience it and read it. I know there's a couple other titles of his that I do want to pick up, but they go out of print and go for crazy amounts of money. So I'm just kind of getting them as I go. As I've said in multiple haul videos now, I am trying to make my indie section of my library a little bit more vast, because while I've read a lot of popular indie titles, I haven't read a lot of indie titles. So I do want to change that. So I'm picking up titles like Royal City to actually read and get to experience fully. Super exciting. It's Jeff Lemire, so I know I'm going to probably like it, but I'm pumped to actually dive in and share with you guys my thoughts. Next up, we have probably going to be one of my top reads of the year, which is Bitterroot in this hardcover omnibus, book 1. I do have a review on this up above, so I'll leave that for you guys, but such a great title. It completely sold out from what I've heard, rightfully so, because it is that good. It plays so well with its, I guess, plot point, even though it's a little bit more deeper, and not even a little bit, a lot more deeper, and even darker at times than that, but so thought-provoking. Give it a chance. I definitely recommend those of you that may not want your ideals or thought processes or whatever questioned, maybe stir away from this, because it definitely is that kind of book that wants you to kind of think and apply to real life and everything like that. So definitely a great book though. I mean, it blew me away. I heard nothing but good things before diving in, but once I read it, I could not believe how good it was, and the art is immaculate as well. So just colorful and filled with love, and the colors just pop off the page. Cannot recommend it enough. One drawback that I do want to bring to a lot of people's attention is just be a little gentle with your volumes. I have been hearing that some of these volumes have been having some issues spine-wise and binding-wise, so just be a little gentle when reading if you haven't read yet. I don't want anybody's pages falling out or anything like that, so but I do recommend getting your hands on it and reading it, even if it's in trade paperback or whatever it may be. But Bitterroot is definitely worth the read. But we'll jump to our next indie title, which is going to be Monstrous Book 2. I'm actually, currently reading Book 1. It is definitely a book that feels very much like a novel in its world building and its character, changes and characteristics. That's even a thing. But this is book 2. I do plan on continuing to read it because it definitely seems up my alley. It's not something that you can open up and shut the brain off just because it is a very vast world filled with a large amount of characters. So it does kind of feel like you're studying for a test. That's the best way I've described it. And I've heard that from a lot of people flipping through. I was like, what are people talking about? But now that I'm reading it and I'm learning just how many characters I have to memorize and know and understand, it definitely is a large task to bite a hold of. But this is book 2, continuing the story. I got this from Barnes & Noble, just ordered it randomly because I was reading book 1 and I liked it, so I want to continue. And oddly enough, they sent me a Barnes & Noble exclusive cover, which didn't even know was a thing. Apparently it is. So I have a little bit of a cooler cover. I don't know. But Monstrous is a lot of fun. If you are a novel reader and you're planning to kind of dive into comic books, this is a great route to go because me and Mrs. Nerd are reading very similar books, but one's a comic book and one's a novel, which is pretty interesting. So definitely give it a try. I know the trade paperbacks are all over the place, so you can pretty much get them at any point if you want to, dip your toe in beforehand. Art's immaculate. Storytelling is vast, to say the least, and it's definitely something that I'm excited to continue reading. Next up, for DC, we do have a little bit of a Nightwing readathon planned. Nightwing is, for some of you that do not know, in my top 5 favorite DC superheroes. I've always been a huge fan of Nightwing, despite me not having any of his omnibuses, but we'll get there, hopefully. Especially if that Chuck Dixon omnibus comes out, I will definitely be picking that up. But we do have Teen Titans, The Judas Contract. Not a Nightwing book, but features Nightwing, very heavily. Probably the most popular Teen Titans story in comic books, involving Deathstroke, the character of Terra, some double agency mystery kind of elements explored. A lot of fun. It's highly regarded for a reason because it's absolutely amazing. I mean, just look at that cover. You obviously have Marv Wolfman and George Perez doing the art, so say less, worth picking up. It is also oversized, if you can't tell. So it is a deluxe edition, which is super exciting, and I'm happy to add it to the library, even though it's something I've already read. I don't plan to get those new Teen Titans omnibuses just because there's way too many of them, but I am going to pick up a lot of the stories that are explored in other formats, and this is one of them. And some of you guys probably saw when I held it up, spoiler, I guess, I do have Nightwing by Tom Taylor's hardcovers, so obviously Volume 1, and then we have Volume 2, which is technically the Fear State volume, and then Volume 3, Get Grayson. A very acclaimed ongoing title right now. Nightwing is probably the most important character, or being built up to be the most important character in DC Comics in this current era. Tom Taylor killed it on this. Absolutely just blew so many people away. As I've said before, World's Finest, Batman by Chip Zdarsky, and this Nightwing title are the 3 titles in current DC comic books that are actually amazing. I cannot recommend it enough. Tom Taylor typically succeeding more in his Elseworld style stories, but he kills it on Nightwing. He just understands Dick Grayson and how much hope he represents. The relationship between Dick Grayson and Barbara Gordon. Such a blast. Great artwork throughout also. I mean, I cannot recommend that enough. So much experimenting going on through the panels. So definitely check it out. I'm excited to get these volumes. I'm sure an omnibus is right around the corner now that I've gotten them, so you guys can thank me for that. But yeah, super excited to get these in and add them to the library, and can't wait to actually reread them. Last but not least for DC is going to be Batman and Robin by Peter J. Tomasi and Patrick Gleason, the omnibus. I did do a review for this, which I'll leave up above. Super exciting reprint for me. This used to be one of my whales when I first got into collecting, but this is also one of my favorite Batman title runs in general. I think Peter J. Tomasi and Patrick Gleason understand the family dynamic, the father-son dynamic, and very similar to the Superman run that they did together or Super Sons, they just understand that aspect of these characters and they kill it. So much just intriguing events taking place. This starts off pre-New 52 and then eventually goes into New 52, pre-New 52, telling some stories with a different character under the cowl, which I don't want to give away any spoilers there, but such a blast. Amazing. This makes Damian Wayne likable, a great Robin. This is what made me grow into loving him as a character, especially the differences that he shares with his father, Bruce Wayne. But can't recommend it enough. If you want to see if it's something you'd like, obviously watch my review. But it is really, really good stuff, and it is extremely thick, so you get a decent bang for your buck. Very similar to any DC omnibus, but definitely check it out. But that does wrap up DC, so we'll head to Marvel. First up for Marvel, we have yet another one of my whales when I came into collecting that recently got reprinted, which is Daredevil by Frank Miller and Klaus Janson. I do have a review on this book also, which I'll leave up above. Character-defining run on the character of Daredevil. Really ushered Daredevil into the darker elements that we know and love him for, but also one of the proprietors into making comic books not for kids and making them actually for adults that adults can read and enjoy. This very much fleshes out the character of Kingpin, Bullseye, making them very important characters in the Daredevil story, as well as introducing us to Elektra, Stick, the Hand, a lot of those ninja elements as well. Such a blast. This is not the first video this omnibus has featured in, so you guys probably have seen it before, but still super exciting to add it to the library finally. Next up is Silver Surfer by Dan Slott and Michael/Era Laura Allred. Great omnibus exploring a very obscure character, which is Silver Surfer. I do have a review on this also before I forget, which I'll leave up above. Really exploring some romance elements for the character, and the art is breathtaking, pops off the page, feels so different, and it's a blast. I cannot recommend it enough. If you're a Silver Surfer fan in general, definitely check it out. But if you also just kind of want something that doesn't feel Marvel, wow, it still is Marvel, this is the book for you. It feels very much removed from the Marvel Universe, even though you do have some characters making appearances here and there, like Galactus and stuff like that. It doesn't feel like it's in the same vein as the 616 universe, which is great for new readers, and I think it lends very well to new readers also. Next up, we have the Immortal Iron Fist and the Immortal Weapons Omnibus, the reprint by Matt Fraction and Ed Brubaker. I'm not going to go too in-depth with this because I've done 2 reviews on this book, one for Organic Price Books, which you can head on over, show them some love, subscribe to their channel, great company, but also I did a review on my channel as well, going a little bit more into depth about it, or deeper about it, so I'll leave that link up above, but definitely worth reading if you're a fan of Immortal Iron Fist, and a great jumping on point for the character because a lot of his backstory involving not only the mantle of Iron Fist, but also Danny Rand gets explored. So great jumping on point and great for beginners. Next up is Avengers by Jonathan Hickman, Volume 1. Fingers crossed on that Volume 2. I did do a review on this, which I'll leave up above. Great run on the character of Avengers. Team of Avengers. Very much important to the Marvel lore. This really ushers us into that modern era at Marvel, into Secret Wars and post-Secret Wars. The Incursion event, the destroying of the Ultimate Universe, a lot of things being explored here and told between these pages, as well as a lot of character developments through not only certain characters, but also the team in general. Definitely worth checking out. There is some prior reading that I'd recommend, such as a lot of the other Hickman runs during Marvel, specifically Fantastic Four, but still, it's not exactly beginner friendly just because how vast it is, but still kind of some required reading if you want to read comics after the Secret Wars, or if you want to read Secret Wars in general. But I do have a review for this, so you can check that out if you want to see if it'd be something you like, or if you have any questions, you can comment below on that video. But super excited to add it into the library. And last but not least for the haul is going to be Spider-Verse, Spider-Geddon, the Omnibus, brainchild from Dan Slott. I do have a review for this also up above. Extremely exciting to get this in Omnibus, because before we had an oversized hardcover that was mapped horribly, but in this instance it's mapped beautifully. If you're a fan of Into the Spider-Verse, the movies, we got a sequel coming out. This is kind of its source material. This dives deep into that Spider-Man lore, that Spider-Man multiverse, seeing multiple versions of Spider-Man, all different types of characters. You really get to see why they exist, what makes them different. Two teams being built that have different ideas about going about the character that they're going up against. Some required reading would be J. Michael Straczynski's run on Amazing Spider-Man, as well as some of Dan Slott's, mainly because of the villain that they end up going against during this entire omnibus. So I definitely recommend that before diving in, just to get the most from it. I don't think you need it necessarily, but it will give you the most from your reading experience. But super exciting to actually have it in omnibus format, have all the tie-ins, everything that we wanted from it, and it finally mapped beautifully with an amazing cover. But that does wrap up today's haul. But that does wrap up today's video, going over my haul for the month of March. A pretty decently sized haul, not massive by any means. Well, it's pretty massive. Small hauls, big hauls, whatever you can get in matter. So just wanted to share that with you guys. Like always, of course, comment down below. Let me know what you guys picked up. Also, let me know what I may or may not have slept on. I'm always looking for new material. So, of course, if you have any recommendations of anything really in general, leave that down below. I love to hear about things that I may have not have checked out or read before. But other than that, I hope you enjoyed yourself. As always, I hope you guys always enjoy yourselves. If you're not a part of the Illuminati, hit that subscribe button to join. It's such an amazing community, and it's really getting better and better each and every day with the amazing members that keep joining it daily. Also, if you could help me out and the channel out, hit that thumbs up icon. It really helps the algorithm and helps support the channel, getting us into that algorithm. That way we get a little bit more notice. Also, if you did enjoy yourself, then do yourself a favor and hit that bell icon. That way you can get notified anytime I put out content, whether it's hauls, reviews, shorts, whatever it may be, whatever this channel offers, you'll then in turn get notified for it. But other than that, thank you so much for watching. I truly appreciate each and every aspect that you guys support the channel. And of course,